What's up, YouTube? My name is Big Boy Snatch on TV, aka what kind of snacks you want, because I got plenty go around. This is my AEW Dynamite review on how. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys please give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys think of AEW Dynamite. Subscribe to my channel for more ways of content. Because I'm here to give you guys the full breakdown of my review, not to have my review. And go check out my WWE NXT review on how I post on the channel. And that's all I gotta say. Now AEW Dynamite, I gotta say it was a good show for what it was. Alright, AEW Dynamite was live in Chicago, Illinois, Beeline Bank, Oregon Ballroom. Alright, let's get started. It says, we start off with Hangman Adam Page making his way out at ringside through the HBO Max feed. Seems to cut an ad break. I had to reopen the feed after it started on Black, so maybe that's what happened. You be getting a strongly worried tweet about this. WBD. After the ad break, anyways, we return from the weird break to the ring, where Toni Schiavone hands a microphone to the new AEW World Champion. You deserve it, chant from the crowd. I agree with that. But Paige says some of those chanting may have missed the point, because the truth is, you're the fans. You're the fans deserve it. This gives we deserve a chance, which annoys me to some extent, but I get it. Before Paige continues, Paige says that everyone watching every week demanding better and more full realized pro wrestling. They are the ones who support a grassroots movement in pro wrestling. They are the reason for all elite wrestling. AEW chance breaks out before Paige says he wants us to know that the people who work so hard in this company don't just stretch and crawl for this title, but for each and every fan. Thank you, Hangman. Chant now. The fans deserve to see this championship and to have someone to hold it and carry it that understands the connection and has more gratitude for the fans than they could ever know. Paige talks about going into a war and 100 battles that have gone on before him, and how some of them who felt before having not made it back. He takes time to thank these men, including Orange Cassidy, who gets a freshly squeezed chant. Thank you to Jay White. Thank you to Adam Copeland, to the Ops, drawing a Samoa Joe chant, to Brian Danielson, yes chant, narrowly, and to Darby Allin. He also needs to thank someone he also needs to thank someone who at Double or Nothing remind him of what is great about pro wrestling, and someone who didn't get to leave on their own violation. He gives thanks to Will Ospreay, whose house Swerve's house chant starts breaking out as Paige has some more to address here. He doesn't know if this man helped for himself or AEW, or even in one small moment to help for Paige. But he'll say to Swerve Strickland, thank you. This gets a big pop from the crowd, followed by more. Whose house Swerve's house chant. Paige talks about shedding blood and tears on Saturday. And there are people like John Moxley who will say that makes him weak. They would say that makes him less of a man, but Paige wants you to look at him. He has a wife and 2 kids that love him. He has thousands and millions of people watching AEW, people who can look at him and respect him. If you want to know what kind of man he is, you can take a look at him, because he is the champion of the world. There was a little more spice on that, but TBS won't have it. Alright, let's move on. This was a great opening segment to Hangman Adam Page. Great opening promo from the new champ. Hangman Adam Page really like him taking time to thank those who fought the battle before him, and really putting over how important this win and title change is for AEW going forward. Really play into that new era that's been talked. That's all I gotta say. But AEW All In was a good show. that main event match felt like a Bloodline Rules. It gives you that Bloodline Rules vibes right there at AEW All In Texas. But anyway, let me continue. He shows off the new AEW World Champion to a big ovation from the crowd before leaving the ring as we go to commercial break. I'm sorry, so we go to video package. Yeah, video package. A look back at AEW All In Texas, a massive event for AEW. That was a good show for AEW All In Texas. All right, commentary hypes the pay-per-view replay and the big trios match for later tonight. Before we go to earlier today, as the Young Bucks arrive at the venue in an Uber after losing their EVP privilege in custom limbo in the past week, they grab their luggage before making their way to the building. As we cut away. Back at ringside, Kyle Fletcher makes his entrance for our opening contest. Commentary looks back at AEW All In Texas and Dustin Rhodes winning the TNT Championship as Kyle Fletcher enters the ring. And out next is Mascara Dorora to get this match underway. Alright, so we get the first match, Mascara Dorora versus Kyle Fletcher. And this was a very good match right here. Kyle Fletcher seems to be all business as he charged at Dorora in the corner for some stunts, wearing the luchador down to boos from the crowd. Dorora starts to fight back, but is sent to the ropes by the Protostar. As the crowd lets Don Callis know how they feel about him, Dorado hits the ropes for speed, leading to exchange between he and Kyle Fletcher until Dorado sends him to the mat with an arm drag. Shoulder to Kyle Fletcher from the ropes before going up top for a massive dropkick to keep Kyle Fletcher down. But Kyle Fletcher managed to send the luchador to the outside before going for a dive. But it's no good as Dororo evades him, setting up for a tornado that sends the Protostar to the floor. He brings Kyle Fletcher back to the ring. But it's Kyle Fletcher who takes control of the match. Now as we go to a full commercial break on HBO Max. So we go to full commercial break on HBO Max. Back from commercial break, Kyle Fletcher continues the offense until Dororo catches him with the Hurricane for a near fall. He goes after the Protostar in the corner, but Kyle Fletcher evades the flurry before getting sent towards the ropes with their head scissors. A kick sends him to the outside before the luchador lands a shooting star press that takes Kyle Fletcher down hard to the floor. Both men get back in the ring as the world continues the attack, setting up for a cold red that gets him a close 2 count. Kyle Fletcher starts to fight back before getting taken down from the turnbuckle with the Hurricanrana to counter a brainbuster attempt, and this opens the world up for a big 450 splash that gets a near fall. The luchador continues the flurry of offense before heading back to the turnbuckle, but the Protostar catches him by surprise, setting up for a brainbuster that gets Kyle Fletcher the win. The winner by pinfall, Kyle Fletcher. This was a good match, like I said. Good opening match. Was nice to get a look at the Royal here, but this was very much Kyle Fletcher vented some frustration after All In Texas. Kyle Fletcher versus Dustin Rhodes. It is a neat idea for a TNT title feud. I tell you what, hashtag AEW Dynamite. We cut back to earlier today where the Young Bucks are mocked for their big loss at All In Texas before bumping into Maria Shafir on their way to the locker room where a straight stagehand crossed out to EVP note on the label to really empathize their predicaments. As the staffer walks away, Ricochet and Gates of Wanaga appear to needle them even more about it before walking off. Before Don Callis appears, he says it's a shame how losing one match means these two are being treated like jobbers, whatever that means. But now that Kenny Omega is dead, he's willing to help the Young Bucks out. They think about this before offering to hug it out with Don Callis stepping into the locker room as we go to commercial break. Meanwhile, great just what Young Bucks directors need more reason to hate these guys by possibly alleging them with Don Callis again. LOL. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. So we go to commercial break. We cut a promo from the Hurt Syndicate after Arlen, Texas, with MVP begging for one of these legendary tag teams to step up and try to take the titles from the Hurt Syndicate. MJF, meanwhile, congratulates Hangman Adam Page on winning the world title. He said it would been easy to beat Dr. John, but with Page, he has something to prove. He says he's the best before saying he doesn't even need his title contract to get what belongs to him. The contract is just a break glass in case of emergency deal. He wraps up by saying he wraps up by saying that nice guy finished last before MVP interjects to say they not nice at all. With that, we cut away. Alright, back at ringside, Josh Alexander and Hikaru make their entrance for our next match, followed by the Young Bucks, and making a note here I'm calling them Matt and Nick going forward. The lack of EVP next our workshop that word later is made more evident as the entrance video changes to a cheaply made one featuring footage of the Young Bucks getting beat at All In, Texas. Ash Justin confirms my suspicion by calling them Matt and Nick in a manner that rallies the pair up as they enter the ring. Out next are Jespy, followed by Bandito and Brody King as the quarter heads down to the ring to get this match on the way. So we get an All-Star 8-man tag, Bandito, Brody King, and Jespy versus Josh Alexander, Hikaru, and the Young Bucks. And this 8-man tag team match right here, I ain't even gonna lie, but this was a fun 8-man tag team match for what it was. We start things off with Brody King and Josh Alexander, who trade offense before Josh Alexander finds himself unable to take Brody King off his feet. They mouth off at each other before Josh Alexander sends Brody King back with strikes, only for Brody King to drop him to a knee with a massive chop. Josh Alexander looks for a tag, but the Young Buck steps off the apron, forcing Hikaru to tag in. Bandito gets the tag as well, as a lucha libre chant gets the pair while they trade offense of their own. Bandito charges at Hikaru in the corner before taking him to the mat with their Hurricane tag made tonight. Who calls in Bailey for the assist and taking down Hikaru before Matt and Nick try to intervene. This results in Jespy going after the former AVP to drop them on the floor outside. Back in the ring, Kevin gets back on the attack until the Young Bucks come running in once more. Chaos ensues as they land super kicks on Brody King and Knight before popping up Bailey on the ropes for a stump into a powerbomb, and then an escalera to send the Chaos to the outside as we go to a full commercial break. So we go to a full commercial break. Back from commercial break, Hex and Zero and Kevin Knight are going at it with the luchador in control. Knight is back up to send Hikaru to the ropes, but gets dropped hard in the midair before Hikaru continues to wear him down. Kevin Knight looks for a tag, but is pulled away as Josh Alexander tags in, spinning Kevin Knight to the canvas before the Young Bucks get in on the action with a tag to Matthews. They look for an EVP trigger, but realize they can't call it that anymore, lead to them to having a discussion, and this opens them up for the attack by Speedball, who gets the tag from Kevin Knight. Nicholas tries to intervene, but he's dropped hard, only to get double teamed by the Young Bucks, who look for more bang for your buck, but to no avail. Bailey connects with a backflip stomp, forcing a tag to Hex and Zero to get back in control. He and Hikaru are met with a rush of offense from Brody King, who sends Josh Alexander to the outside before hitting a cannonball on Hikaru. in the corner. Brody King hits the ropes as Bandito gets a blonde tag before Brody King gets the drop on Josh Alexander and company on the outside. He and Bandito follow suit before bringing Josh Alexander back in the ring, where Jesse land a combo setting up for Bandito to get a near fall on Hex and Zero. Things break down once again as the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander take out Brody King, only for Mike Bailey to lay out Josh Alexander. The Young Bucks knock him down, but are taken out by Kevin Knight before Bandito hits the X knee on Nick, followed by a 21 plex. But it gets countered into a triple team. They gang up on the Ring of Honor World Champion again, and Hex and Sorrow locks in a sleeper hold, and Bandito is cut cold, and Bandito is out cold, forcing the ref to call for the bell. The winners of the match by submission: Josh Alexander, Hex Sincero, and the Young Bucks. We get a glimpse of the celebration as we go to commercial break. Up next, we hear from Adam Copeland. Fun 8-man tag match, despite the All-Star label counting too slowly. Grace on my nerves. LOL. The key to this match was the Young Bucks working with the Don Callis family, and that was very evident in the chemistry between them for the win tonight. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. So we go to commercial break. Back at ringside, Adam Copeland music hits to a big pop from the crowd, from the Chicago crowd, who sings his theme song as Adam Copeland makes his way to the ring. We get a look back at the attack on Christian Cage at AEW All in Texas, leading to the return of Adam Copeland and a message from Christian Cage to go find himself. By this point, Adam Copeland has entered the ring as the crowd continues singing, which garners a smile on the face of the rated R superstar. Adam Copeland thanks the fans in response to a thank you Copeland chant, saying those reactions are the reason he gets up and gets in this ring. Adam Copeland wants to address a few questions. The first being did he come down to save Christian Cage? No. Christian Cage is a hoe. He tries to make Adam Copeland miserable, reminding us that Christian Cage wanted to cripple him. He also reminds us that Christian Cage cashed in his world title contract and got choked out. Everything has crumbled around Christian Cage, and it's all out of jealousy. He couldn't handle seeing Cole be first to concern success, including the world champion. He told Christian Cage verbatim was going to happen to Christian Cage, but now he just hoping Christian Cage is watching and pulling his cranium out of his you-know-what. That said, Cope came back at All In Texas to go after FTR. 5 years ago, he was cleared to return to the ring again, and the first two men he called about it were FTR, who helped him get back in shape. They talked even back then about going after trios titles, and as Radar FTR, and 2 weeks after they finally started getting going, they started complaining. FTR talked about being held back from their tag title aspiration. At that makes no sense. Makes no sense to him. They put him on the shelf for 4 months' time that he doesn't have as every time he gets in the ring may be his last. He came back after that time for one thing, and that is to end FTR. FTR music hits, but it's Big Stoke in a security detail that come to the ring. Stoke addressed FTR knowing what Cole was going to do, as Chicago tells him to shut the F up. To which Stoke says it sounds like the Hathaway family reunion, and thank you for the greetings. Stokes says FTR figured he'll do all that he did just to get back at FTR. Before addressing the weapon, Cope called Spike calmly that Tony Khan and Warner Brothers Discovery received a number of emails complaining. So much so that Stoke is claiming if Cope interferes in FTR's matches or uses his weapon against them, he will be fired. So Adam Copeland, why don't you do Stoke a favor, find a hobby and leave FTR alone? Cope responds to this by saying Stoke has come out here sounding like an angry Oompa Loompa. That part was funny. To which the crowd chants that. Cope confirms that if he gets near FTR, he will get fired, but Stoke never said anything about getting near him. With that, Cope takes out the security detail before laying out Stokely with a spear. Cope's music as he miles off with the fallen Stoke before posing for the crowd in a corner. Commentary hypes the main event trios match before we get a look back at why Briscoe wants a crack at the Death Riders. Backstage, Mark Briscoe addressed the Death Riders and MJF winning the Casino Gauntlet match at AEW All In Texas. He brings up his debut for AEW in January 2023. Before addressing MJF's remarks about his later brother and how that invokes the spirit that kills of them boys, he promised to make MJF pay for his sins. I like this return promo from Cope. His focus clearly being on revenge against FTR, though I gotta wonder if he's really going this alone. Also really like the Briscoe promo. That's a guy who always cuts a fun one. Hashtag AEW Dynamite, which is I agree with that. Alright, back at ringside, the collar is the first out of our next match, and is followed by Queen Empanada. He said Empanada. Chris Stanliner and Will Nightingale to get things underway. Alright. 100K fatal 100K 4-way fight. Will Nightingale versus Chris Stanliner versus the Kala versus the Queen Empanada. Queen Empanada. And this match right here, I ain't gonna lie. This was a fun 100K 4-way fight. This was a fun match to watch. But I do want Willow Nightingale to win, but the collar take the advantage. That's all I gotta say. And she won. Willow and Empanada take the fight to the outside as the collar sends Chris Stanliner to the corner, but Chris Stanliner fights back for a delayed vertical suplex, sending the Toxic Spider to the mat. This gets a pop from the crowd, but the collar is back on her feet for a flurry of offense until the Queen stops her at the ropes, pulling her out of the ring to get some offense in on Chris Stanliner. This is stopped by Will Nightingale, who breaks up a pin attempt before sending Chris Stanliner out of the ring. Will Nightingale sends Empanada to the corner for a lariat, but the Queen Empanada brings her to the middle row of the ring to sign chocolate kisses before the collar breaks it up. She sends Empanada to the ropes before Willow Nightingale picks her up for a torture rack and then drops the collar to the mat. Willow Nightingale goes after the Queen but is sent to the floor, only for Empanada to face a similar fate before the collar gets a crossbody on both of them to send us to a commercial break. Back from commercial break, Chris Stanliner returns to the ring to go after Willow Nightingale and the collar. She sends the Toxic Spider to the corner, but Empanada gets involved to land a chop on the collar, who lands a spider suplex, dropping the Queen to the mat. Willow Nightingale catches the collar with a chop before setting up Empanada up for a Death Valley driver, but the collar is on Chris Stanliner's shoulders, sending her into Willow Nightingale to get an opening. Chaos ensues until Empanada lands a headbutt on the collar and a right hand on Chris Stanliner. Will Nightingale lands some offense before Chris Stanliner drops all three opponents to the mat, only to fall to the mat herself, leaving all four women on the canvas. They eventually make it back on their feet. trading offense until Amnata lands an air rag crush. The collar draws her, but it's met with a doctor's bomb by Willow Nightingale for the pin. Only for Chris Statlander to pull the referee out of the ring to break the count. This leaves Willow Nightingale to go after Chris Statlander. The two battle it out up the ramp as the collar draws Amnata to the mat for a 2 count. Sky Blue comes down the ramp, hopping on the apron to distract the referee, while Julia Hart appears from behind Amnata to spray the Queen with mist. This gives the collar a chance to pick up the win and the 100K bonus. The winner by pinfall, the collar. This was a fun 4-way to watch this match. Julia Hart and Sky Blue joined the collar in the celebration, and dedicated an alliance formerly as commentary talks of Kazuchika Okada in action later tonight. On top of that, we will hear from Timeless Toni Storm. With that, we go to commercial break. A fun 4-way match here. Always nice to see Willow and Chris Statlander added through. I'm really hoping to see some big progression on that feud soon. Meanwhile, it seems the collar has some piles in Julia Hart and Sky Blue, and that is intriguing to me. I'm sorry. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. So we go to commercial break. Back at ringside, we get a black and white with a touch of red as we hear from Timeless Toni Storm. Alright, Timeless Toni Storm, after her match at AEW All In Texas, she introduced herself as a number of things I can't really repeat in this recap, before reminding us that she is champion. She thanks Mercedes Moné money for going all in with her, saying they did everything they set out to do. But in case she forgot, she did say that if Monet made one small mistake, Toni Storm would eat her alive. Well, darling, you were delicious. Alright. If you want to come back for seconds, I'm sure you will. Then from the champ lips to yours. This buffet is always open. She then says Luther got injured, talking about what happened, requiring reattachment surgery to a big Luther. Chant from the crowd, and now Tony's eyes, eyes are pointed to the future. All right. There are so many people with the knives and well as well. I'm sorry. There were so many people with the knives, and well, she ought to be careful now, because this is the big one in this company, in this business, on this planet. She is interrupted by Athena, who introduced herself as, among other things, the Forever Champion. No one will remember Toni, because soon Athena will be the Forever AEW Champion. She talks about taking out Mina, meaning there is no one to save Toni Storm when she cashed in her contract to get her shot. She teases possibilities on when that match will happen, and we cut back to ringside where Timeless Toni Storm promised to be ready, because she is Timeless Toni Storm. Commentary hypes a match for next week between Toni Storm and Bayley Starks. Fun promo between Toni Storm and Athena, though I have a minor gripe about a little bit of just disjointedness and bits. Still, I'm excited for that match. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. Alright. Backstage, the Partne address taking out Christian Cage at AEW All In Texas. Chris Sabin talks about no longer being underneath the Partne, but alongside Matcher as Mother Rain jokes about Christian Cage being unable to get up by himself on Saturday. Nick Wayne runs down Christian Cage for going his own way instead of following their plans. they set out for themselves. He reminds Christian Cage that he is the youngest champion in AEW history, and the question is how many world titles he is going to win. How much better can he possibly be? Christian Cage created this monster, and Christian Cage created this monster, and he and AEW will have to deal with it as Nick Wayne becomes the new face of TNT, the new face of AEW now and forever. Alright. Meanwhile, Nick Wayne basically cut in a Christian Cage promo to say he is the new face of TNT and AEW. Alright then, but we'll see where it goes. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. Back at ringside, Don Callis introduced the AEW Unified Champion Kazuchika Okada, who has a new music in lights of beating Kenny Omega at AEW All in Texas. He heads to the ring as this match gets underway. A non-title match, AEW Unified Champion Kazuchika Okada versus Rafael Quintero squash match. Okada gets the jump early, sending his opponent to the corner for some hard stumps. He steps away just long enough to send Quintero to the mat with a drop kick followed by a Rainmaker lariat for the win. The winner by pinfall, Kazuchika Okada. This was a squash match. After the match, Don Callis gives the mic to Okada, who calls out Swerve for screwing the Young Bucks at All In Texas. Will say his name, and he appears because here comes Swerve Strickland, walking down the ramp with a dancing Prince Nana before entering the ring to confront the Unified Champion. He tells Okada that he did do that, and asks Okada what he's going to do about it before leaving the ring as we go to commercial break. Now, I'm so excited for Swerve Strickland versus Okada. Sign me up to see that match. Who's going to take the Unified Champion off of Kazuchika Okada? It's got to be Swerve Strickland. So I'm excited to see Swerve Strickland versus Kazuchika Okada. Sign me up to see that match. And I'm so excited for this feud. So that's all I gotta say. Anyway, so we go to commercial break. Back at ringside, there's been enough talk. It's time for our main event. Our first are the Death Riders, looking very different here without the AEW World Champion or the briefcase with them as they make their way through the crowd towards ringside. They enter the ring as Mark Briscoe makes his entrance next, followed by the Powerhouse Hobbs and the new AEW World Champion and Hangman Adam Page. The trio makes their way to the ring, and this main event gets underway. So we get the main event of the evening. The main event of the evening. Hangman Page, Mark Briscoe, and Powerhouse Hobbs versus the Death Riders, John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli. And this main event match right here, I ain't gonna lie, this match right here, fun trios match. This was a 6-man tag team match. So this was a fun 6-man tag team match. Powerhouse Hobbs and Claudio Castagnoli start things off through the Powerhouse. Quickly takes control, sending him to the mat before attacking in Page. Adam rushes at Claudio Castagnoli for some right hands, only for Claudio Castagnoli to get to his feet to tag in Wheeler Yuta, but the Hangman just sends him to the corner for the tag to Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe gets some hard strikes on Wheeler Yuta before sending him to the ropes for a double team alongside Powerhouse Hobbs followed by a tag. Powerhouse Hobbs lays into Wheeler Yuta until he gets a tag to John Moxley, who backs off from Powerhouse Hobbs as we go to full commercial break on HBO Max. So we go to full commercial break on HBO Max. Back from the final commercial break, Powerhouse Hobbs is met with an uppercut from Wheeler Yuta in the corner, only for the Powerhouse Hobbs to catch him in midair. But John Moxley runs in to intervene on Wheeler Yuta's behalf. This leads to a stare down from Powerhouse Hobbs, who is distracted long enough to be blindsided by Wheeler Yuta. Powerhouse Hobbs is sent out of the ring, where Mauricio Field gets a few shots in while the referee is busy admonishing Wheeler Yuta, but soon catches Mauricio Field telling her to back off as John Moxley gets the tag. John Moxley grabs the Powerhouse Hobbs before sending him into the ring steps. He brings Powerhouse Hobbs back in the ring as the crowd chants, "You tapped out" at the former champ, who tags in Claudio Castagnoli to continue the attack on the Powerhouse Hobbs. Claudio Castagnoli set him up a giant swing before tagging in John Moxley, who runs in with a boot before tagging in Wheeler Yuta in. Hammer and a raw elbow from Wheeler Yuta, but Powerhouse catches him with a power slam before tagging in Mark Briscoe. He unloads on John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli, sending them ladder out of the ring before running into the boot from John Moxley. Mark Briscoe lands an enziguri on John Moxley, but Mauricio Freire cuts him off from doing a froggy bow as the Death Riders takes control. John Moxley hits a DDT on Mark Briscoe, sending him to the floor as we go to full commercial break on HBO Max. So we go to full commercial break on HBO Max. Back from the break, John Moxley gets a two count on Mark Briscoe before setting up for an STF. Mark Briscoe fights to the ropes to force a break as John Moxley backs off before knocking Page off the apron. Gosh style power driver gets a 2 count before Powerhouse House breaks the pin. Claudio Castagnoli comes in, sending Powerhouse House to the outside, and he and Wheeler Yuta go after him, while John Moxley sends Mark Briscoe to the corner. Mark Briscoe finds an opening by biting the former champ, landing a missile drop kick to take John Moxley down before tagging in Heyman. Adam Page goes off on the Death Rider, sending Claudio Castagnoli off the apron before dropping Wheeler Yuta with a fall-away slam despite the latter getting the tag. Wheeler Yuta blocks a rolling elbow, but is dropped with a pop-up powerbomb for a 2 count. Claudio Castagnoli gets a bomb, and Wheeler Yuta hits a splash for a near fall of his own. The Death Riders goes for a doomsday device after a tag, but the champ fights back, sending them away before Mark Briscoe hits a cannonball, sending Claudio Castagnoli to the outside. Moonsault by Hangman Adam Page, who sends Claudio Castagnoli back in for a buckshot lariat, but John Moxley blocks it by biting Hangman Adam Page. He gets shoved into a spine buster by Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wheeler Yuta is sent back out by Mark Briscoe as Hangman Adam Page after Claudio Castagnoli once more. Claudio Castagnoli looking for a neutralizer, but Hangman Adam Page counters with a jackknife cover to pick up the win. The winner of the match by pinfall, the AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page, Mark Briscoe, and the Powerhouse Hobbs. There will be no celebration here tonight. However, as the Death Riders go after the trios after the match, the beatdown is interrupted as everyone's attention is drawn to the highest row of the ballroom, where we see Darby Allin staring down John Moxley, who gets laid out with a buckshot lariat by Hangman Adam Page. Death Riders clear out of the ring, which allows Hangman Adam Page and his pals to celebrate as AEW Dynamite comes to an end. Alright, fun trios match here to bring the night to the end. And some great action throughout, but I feel like the bigger story here is that we get the hint of what's to come as Darby Allin literally draws John Moxley's attention away from the new champion. Post-match, I maintain that Darby Allin is helping. Alright. Overall, a really good #AEW Dynamite coming out of All In, Texas. Maybe a little lighter on the wrestling side, but still some good action tonight. But the key focus is obviously on what's come next for the company, like having MJF and Athena tease just how prepared they are for it. Alright, and AEW Dynamite goes off the air. Now, if you guys enjoy my AEW Dynamite review on highlights, make sure you guys please watch the video from all the way from the beginning all the way towards the end. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content that I do on the channel, where I give you guys the full breakdown of my review and not to have my review. Follow my social media down below in the description, and go check out my WWE NXT review and highlights. And thank you guys so much for coming out to my live stream yesterday for my WWE NXT Watch Along live and reactions on Twitch. Go follow my WWE Raw review and highlights, and go check out my AEW All In Texas review and highlights I post on the channel. Alright, and I will see you guys tomorrow for some Fortnite live on Twitch. So I hope I see you guys tomorrow live on Twitch for some Fortnite. I want you guys to have a great night. Stay safe and always stay positive. Kept your crew, kept your kids, kept your club. Too sweet. I'm out of here. Gang. Mwah. Bang. Too sweet. Gang.